Today we are going to talk about SAP Opentext vendor invoice management process. This is an end-to-end video which covers everything in ICC to invoice process. So the first thing we have to do is we have to go to this transaction OAWD. OAWD is the place where we have to scan and we have to upload an invoice. So generally you click on drag and drop, then you find the place where we have stored all the documents. Okay, generally we prefer PDF. Now if you have configured TIFF, you can do that. Now you just drag and drop and you click on allow. So this says that the work item ID has been created and a workflow has been triggered. Now we'll create a new session and we will check a transaction code, which is important. Is this transaction code is the Vim admin. So this will monitor the ICC data. So this is the admin tool that is, and here we will search with the ID which is the latest, because this is the one that we sent. So if you notice, the status is sent to OCR now. Okay, now what we will do, we will check our ICC client. This is, if you notice, this is the ICC invoice capture center where all the OCR happens. Okay, so now we'll go to the admin tool and we will see what's the status. So we'll click on refresh, and if you notice, the extraction is completed now. So from sent to OCR, it becomes extraction completed. Now we'll do a DP trigger. Now this process which we are doing, the DP trigger, is automated in a production environment, but this is the process where we are doing where it's not automated. Okay, now we are going to the ICC validation client, and you will see, we'll click on open, and from there we can see that image. Okay, so if you see, this is the waiting for data, this is the invoice. So if you see, the gross amount has not been populated, so you can just click on the vendor and you can pick up the vendor number from there. Okay, so if you notice, now we are going for the amount. We'll click on the gross amount. So we have to select that, put the cursor on the gross amount, and we have to put that amount. Okay, this quality of invoice is very poor, so OCR could not read it. Okay, now we'll click on submit. The current has, do you want to save anyway? So we will just push it further because there was the vendor number could not be read. Okay, now whether something stops in ICC or not, it's up to you how you configure the system. Okay, now if you click on refresh, it will become validation complete. Okay, now again we'll do a DP trigger. Okay, all this process, the DP trigger portion can be automated, and it's automated everywhere. Okay, so now if you see, it's gone away. So now what we are going to do is we are going to go to invoice cockpit. Okay, now in the newer version you will have something called the Vim workplace. Okay, so if you go, now you go to SAP development, and here you can see invalid vendor because we pushed it. If you know, remember, now this is the number we have, 119. So what we are going to do is we are going to click on execute. So once we click on execute, okay, now you can see what are the different options we have. Okay, now if we click on image, we can see this image. So the invoice is paper invoice that was scanned is now attached to this image. Okay, so now we'll just see the image, everything is fine, the amount is perfect or not. Now what we are going to do is we will hit the back button and we will see what are the stuffs that we can do. So if you notice, here is the index data. So you can see this is, here you can put the doc vendor number. Okay, so if you click on simulate business rule, it will tell you what are the exceptions. So the first exception is invalid vendor, invalid requester for a non-PO invoice. So the vendor number we'll find and we'll put it here, and we click on enter. Okay, so this is the vendor number, and then we have this requisitioner email. We'll click on this. Okay, and here we can find out what is the requisitioner email. Okay, and then we are going to save the data. Once we save the data, this document is completely saved. Okay, now the next thing is the missing mandatory information. So something is mandatory is missing. So in this process, the expense type is something mandatory, so we are putting domestic GM, and now we are going to save it. So here we have data, and here you can put whether it's a credit memo or all those things. And if you see, it is smart enough that it read all the line items also. Okay, now you will see what is the exception it has. So if you notice, it is having an exception of suspected duplicates. Now let's see what we are going to do. So we will run business rules, and probably it will come back again. So if you refresh, okay, so if you see, now it has come in the suspected duplicate column. Okay, now if you, so we are going to put it as non-duplicate, and here if you notice, you can see all the process log here. Okay, now what we can do is we can select non-duplicate. Okay, so if you notice, these are all the duplicate records that is there. Okay, now it's up to you, you want to put non-duplicate or not. So here what we'll do is we'll change the amount to something else. Okay, and we'll save it. Okay, let's see, and again we have to adjust, because otherwise this will not balance. Okay, so what we are going to do, we put this amount and we'll save it, and will bypass this. See, now the amount still, so the duplicate invoice thing is configured amount, reference number, and vendor, and the document and the vendor. So if these three fields matches, then it becomes duplicate. Since we changed the amount, it is not a duplicate. Now I ran business rule and it will come up in another exception. So if you see, has come in approval required. Now what we are going to do is we are going to submit for approval. Okay, so we click the submit for approval button, and we'll click yes, and here you'll see the requisitioner email is there, and now we are going to search the the approver. Okay, and we are going to change this to something the same as the requester email. We are going to change. Now the approval workflow will be triggered. Okay, now this approval workflow gets triggered because we have configured such that the workflows will get triggered to another, to this ID. So if you notice approval header, it will show up, and let's see where it shows up. So we are now going to SWI6 to check with whom this workflow is. This is the business object, and you put 119 here, and we enter and we execute, and here you notice this is the workflow that is triggered. We click on it, and this is the approvers that it is with which. Now we are going to close this, so it shows that it is with him. Now we are going to execute this, and here if you see, you have the option of I will enter accounting information, and once I click on it, I can enter the GL account and cost center. Let me put the GL, and you, if you want, you can put someone else to enter the accounting information. So if you do a name search, so we'll click on name search, and we'll put the last name, and we'll find a person who will do this, and we'll click approve, and now we are going to save it. Okay, and we are going to click approve. and it's assigned to account. And now here you will give a meaningful information of what you want to do with this particular invoice. Now we have sent it for entering coding information. Okay, now let's log in with that user ID. Okay, so let's log in and we'll give the user ID. And here this portion, again we are doing this because we don't have single sign-on. Good, we don't have single sign-on, otherwise I couldn't have showed it with different user ID. So now we'll log in and we'll go to the inbox. So again we'll show you where it is in. Okay, so let's see. Now we are going to check this transaction code. We have to we are going to the Vim analytics, where we can check what is the status of 119. Now we are going to